Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rafferty Mills Connection podcast. Allow me to introduce my next guest. He is a part of the wrestling family, the Von Erichs, well known in Texas, wrestling in the Sportatorium, as a part of World Class Championship Wrestling. This has been a part of two amazing documentaries which have been produced over the years, which are Heroes of World Class and Triumph and Tragedy of World Class Championship Wrestling. Allow me to introduce my guest, which is none other than Kevin Von Erich. Kevin, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm sure glad that everyone's enjoyed it. It's a heck of a story, all right. It's in a lot of ways it can be seen as a sad story. I've always tried to, not tried. I've always thought I had a triumphant story. I was pretty darn lucky to have been, to have traveled well all I did and done the things that I was able to do. It's hard to call it a bad day,
Well, I guess let's get started then. Your family and yourself were recently inducted into the WWE's Hall of Fame in 2009. Who called you initially to do that, and how shocked were you at being approached?
Real shocked, man. It was like 14 years later. I'm like, this is the WWE, and sports entertainment is like pretty much eclipsed all other forms of entertainment, really. It's like, if you've ever gone to one of those shows, it's like unbelievable. It's 2 or 3 hours of just over-the-top entertainment that you'll never forget. And everyone, and they had a lot of people there from Ireland and from the United Kingdom and from like Spain and Portugal. I mean, it was unbelievable. There were people from all over the world at WrestleMania. I went to the WrestleMania in April of '09 when they inducted me, and it was the only one I'd been to, and it was unbelievable, Nicholas. It was like, it was like just way beyond what wrestling, what sports entertainment is now. It's way beyond what wrestling was back in the past.
Who approached you then? Who actually called you and said, we'd like you to come up to WrestleMania and be inducted into the Hall of Fame? Who actually called you?
Well, it wouldn't be the people you'd think. It was always a different person, it seemed like. It's a huge company. It was almost like someone would call me and ask me to come up and do this or that, and then this person would know me from, the past and would call me, and it was always, it seemed like somebody different, but it was really, I was really touched that they would include my brother Chris, because I always thought wrestling was about, let's face it, it's a business. It's about butts and seats. Well, somebody buy a ticket to watch you perform, and Gary, Dave, and I were lucky, and Mike came along, but Chris really didn't come along at a time that he didn't really draw any crowds, and they put him in the Hall of Fame anyway, and I thought that was just plain nice to do, real friendly, real decent thing to do.
Is it true that you actually started out as a football player?
Yeah, that is true. I just, for some reason, I wanted to be an athlete like my dad, but I wanted to kind of make my own way. I wanted to be a football player. My brother wanted to be an athlete in track. Jessica Storber and my other brother was a basketball player. And so we all tried to kind of go different directions. Yeah, I hurt my knee, and so I went into wrestling. And wrestling and football, it's so knee-oriented, all the blocks and tackles are aimed at your knee. But in wrestling, you can just go to your belly and put your knees behind you, and that's what, I would do back in those days.
How did you transition from football to wrestling? What initially got you into wrestling?
Well, that was my dad. What my dad did, he was a professional wrestler. He always wanted me to do it, and I never did. I started a summer job that just lasted 22 years, man. It was like, I had no idea I'd do it that long. It was like, to me, I didn't really like it. I saw a bunch of old men getting in the ring and stomping their foot and not really hitting each other. I'm like, I don't be part of this crap, and so that's just how I felt. But then, as I got into it, then other athletes that were like my age started coming along, and the old guys were kind of being just naturally like, I would say evolution, or like just natural selection. They were just being pushed aside. And the guys that were able to go in that ring for 30 minutes, full speed, top notch athletes, guys that were, that did pay the price in that gym and go to bed early, wake up early. They're guys that they replaced those fat old men type wrestlers, and I hate to be, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I mean, that's the way it was back in those days. And now the guys are all tip top athletes. My two sons are, I'm preparing them for future in wrestling, really. And I've got them just eating food that is natural and trying to get them away from the artificial flavorings and colorings and the preservatives and stuff like that. And so we grow most of our own vegetables and spear our own fish and hunt our own pigs too. All my sons are hunters, and so we eat as healthy as we can.
So was it something that your dad talked you into?
You look back on it, it's almost like a different animal than when you were there. When I was just a kid, I was just doing what my dad wanted me to. I was just trying to make my dad proud of me, like all boys. But then I didn't think of it at the time that we're doing a record crowd every week, and it's, every week it's breaking last week's record, and we're having to use bigger buildings and use extra police to get us out of there, and so it dawned on me, it's, Dad's handling a different animal now than he was, and it's like the crowds they're not selling as much beer and as much as they are candy and cotton candy and Cokes and things like that, because the kids are coming now. It's the show is, the demographics are changing. It's not just one certain group. It's the spectrum now. It's going all around, and it was changing, and it was and I saw that, and I thought, well, this is kind of something I did want to be a part of, and I was enjoying getting in the ring and doing it my way and our way, and if a guy complained, well, then he was out of here. I mean, he didn't complain. I mean, the thing was, if I hit you too hard, then hit me back. And the people loved that. It made great television, and as long as we stayed in the head of the muscle groups, like stayed away from the teeth, the nose, the low blows, and just hit as hard as we could. The microphones and the close-up cameras were right on it. And there were guys like Cactus Jack Manson, if you've heard of him, Mankind. He had no regard for himself at all. He would just, give himself to the show completely every night. And it was like, and all of our guys were like that. And it was just, everyone would just pay the price the other guy was not willing to pay. And so I was really glad wrestling had moved to a plateau like that. And so I was glad to be a part of it. I wouldn't say it took any talking into from my dad. A lot of people would like to say that, but no, I know that Fritz was onto it.
Was it difficult to live up to the Von Erich name, so to speak? Was there a lot of pressure on you?
Yeah, there was, because the media just crawls all over you with a microscope, and everything you do, they're watching. And then, and it's weird. It's like they want to watch you. They want to put you on a mountain that you don't deserve to be on. They bust their butt to do it, and they put you on the pinnacle of this mountain. And then it's almost like no man can stand there. And then when you fall, they get every bump and rock and every scrape, and they shoot it all. It's like that's their job, is to put you on the mountain and then let you fall off of it. And so that's what would happen. We were lucky that we had a lot of popularity. It happened real young, but then just like we were kids. We were kids and we had a good time. And when Kerry was arrested in DFW Airport, he had some aspirin in his pocket that had gotten wet, and he said, I don't know why he put them in there, but he had them, just a few. They'd gotten wet and crumbled, and they thought that it was heroin. It turned out it was just aspirin. They knew it, but Kerry did get arrested for that. Not arrested, stopped, and all that, but they eventually dropped all the charges. But it looked like he was bringing heroin, and the rumor went out. No, it was big in Dallas, just drugs and all that. But it wasn't true, and so it was okay. And things got things went on. It was the 80s.